And I must thank my party and the people of Kikuyu for the opportunity to serve the country. Honorable Speaker, let me add my few comments on these finance bill proposals. But first, allow me, Honorable Speaker, to say, and I did mention even last week, that increasingly being a constitutional democracy, we are, as a House, abrogating our responsibilities and our mandates given to us by the Constitution of our Republic, the Constitution that we passed in 2010, and giving away a lot of the powers that were given as the people's representatives, Honorable Speaker, by the people of Kenya through the enactment of the 2010 Constitution. In particular, Honorable Speaker, I want to draw the House's attention to Article 210 of the Constitution, Honorable Speaker, because we are elected as leaders to come and represent people in this House. And I keep re-emphasizing that point of us being the people's representatives. Honorable Speaker, it's only in the state of Washington, D.C., where they say there is taxation without representation. But in the Republic of Kenya, there must be representation with taxation. And that is why elected members of parliament are sent to this House by their people from their constituencies, so that even as they are taxed, they are represented. And that is why I am glad that we are all here this afternoon, Honorable Speaker, this evening rather, to make sure that we represent our people. Article 210 of the Constitution, Honorable Speaker, specifically 210 sub-article 1, on the imposition of tax was quite explicit, that no tax or licensing fee may be imposed, waived, or varied except as provided by legislation. And Honorable Speaker, that responsibility on imposition of taxation, the mandate is in this House. It is only this House that can legislate on matters to do with taxation. And that is why, again, Article 114 and even our own standing orders, I think Standing Order 114, are quite clear on questions of money bills that affect taxation and matters to do with taxation. And Honorable Speaker, I say that with concern because increasingly we are seeing the Cabinet Secretary and National Treasury taking over the work of this House through the delegated legislation model of bringing legislation into this House. And you find, for instance, and is an issue I raised when we did the tax amendment laws, Honorable Speaker, and I think the Honorable Kimani is one of the other members who spoke in support of what we were saying, that we varied VAT through regulations, through delegated legislation. And I said at that time that that simple act of using delegated legislation to change the rate of VAT from 16 to 14% might be counterproductive to our economy, Honorable Speaker. And I indicated that our estimates by the Budget Office were that we would lose at least 49.7, close to 50 billion shillings in 3 months. That extrapolated to a whole financial year is about 200 billion shillings in a year. Yet, we are talking about a country that is ravaged by floods, the COVID-19 pandemic, and our revenues falling, and the economy really hurting. And I agree with what the leader of my minority was saying, that for every action, there must be a reaction. Therefore, for every revenue we lose, we must be able to know, as he was saying, how do we raise that money? Because we have already gone through the budget process. We have appropriated money. And I did say I foresee in the next few months a situation where we may have to do a supplementary budget, especially after we pass whatever we pass in this finance bill, Honorable Speaker, that if we say we are losing this amount of revenue, which we had already appropriated, Honorable Speaker, as we will do in the appropriations bill immediately after we finish with the finance bill, then we must find a way of raising that money. However, that does not mean that we should abdicate our responsibilities as a people's representatives to the National Treasury. The people elect us to come and represent them here. To make sure, Honorable Speaker, as you are saying, and I must thank the committee, that if you are going to tax gas, cooking gas, Honorable Speaker, that we attracted everybody, including those who are using charcoal, jikos, those who are using firewood, Honorable Speaker, and we attracted all of them to come and start using cooking gas. We even went out through Inua Mama and the other groups that were going around giving, and even the National Government Action Fund, NGAF, the one our honorable ladies use back in our constituency, giving out MECO gases. then we come and tax the same people, Honorable Speaker. We'll be killing those people. We'll be telling those people to go back to the harmful jikos and paraffin stoves that they were using and firewood, Honorable Speaker, and damaging even our environment. And therefore, I want to support the committee and agree with them that indeed we must not strangulate our people anymore with heavy taxation. Raising revenue for government does not mean overtaxing people. We just need to expand our tax bracket and be able to raise more money, Honorable Speaker, and be more innovative. Moving on, Honorable Chair, Honorable Speaker, the question of zero rating, and the leader of minority has spoken about it. I want to support the committee's recommendation. If we were able to zero rate VAT on bread and milk, things that we can do without, Honorable Speaker, we should be able to also zero rate unga. If you are not zero rating unga, and unga is what is easily available to people, and that is what people, everybody, the politics of unga in this country, Honorable Speaker, Honorable TJ will tell you, in the last elections, our own party Jubilee, we did the politics of unga just like NASA did the politics of unga. We moved unga by subsidizing prices to 90 shillings because of the campaign. Today, we are confronted with a huge humanitarian crisis. Our economy is terrible. Our people have no money. They are confronted by a health pandemic. If we cannot subsidize this unga for them today, and we are able to do it during campaigns, then we must zero rate unga for the ordinary people. Otherwise, our people are crying. In the state of Minnesota, a few months ago, George Floyd, when he had that heavy knee of a policeman on his neck strangulating him, he was crying out saying, "I can't breathe." Had the three other officers who were standing next to the policeman who was strangulating George Floyd even tapped the policeman and told him the gentleman can't breathe, America will not be confronted with what they are confronted with today. We're in that situation in this country today. Our people are crying out to us. They are telling us, unga, we have no food. We have no housing. Allow us to save without taxing us to be able to get housing. Our people are telling us we can't breathe. Are we listening? Are we listening to the people of Kenya saying we can't breathe? Or are we cheering on as the heavy knee of government strangulates our people? Today, as the people's representatives, we must rise to the occasion and be able to ask the heavy knee of government to allow the people of Kenya to breathe. Allow the Kenyan economy to breathe. Allow our country to get back on its feet in terms of economic recovery. We shall not do that by overtaxing people in the midst of a pandemic, Honorable Chair. Moving on to our young people and the digital tax, and I've had the varied opinions that are there in this house. But I want to stand with very many young, well-educated, innovative Kenyans working as IT techies in this country. Innovative young minds that we promised to go to school and they secure jobs. We have not offered them jobs. They have used their innovation to be able to create jobs for themselves. Today, there are young men downloading movies from Netflix, and we want to tell them to watch that Netflix movie now, you have to pay. Please, these young people are saying we can't breathe. Let us allow them to breathe, Honorable Speaker. I want to beg, Honorable Speaker, because of time, when we get to the third reading, I will want Honorable Speaker to bring amendments to make sure first that we re-emphasize our role as a constitutional democracy where people are represented and there's no taxation without representation in this country. That we must, even whether it is on matters VAT, whether it was on matters excise duty, for you to be able to tax, you cannot use delegated legislation. You must bring those taxation measures to this House and allow the people's representatives to represent their people on matters to do with taxation and their lives. With that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support the motion and support the committee's report and commend the Committee of Finance for having listened to the people of Kenya. Let us all
Order. Order, Honorable TJ. He just referred to himself as Chair Emeritus. So he has accepted that. Let us have the member for Funyula, Honorable Oundo.